Welcome back. I picked this photo out because of the exposure issues. I had problems using natural light with this one, keeping the shadows in, and also exposing for the highlights, which is obviously her face. And this is the happy place that I came to. However, I will say that my shutter speed is way too low. However, thankfully, I've obviously got a very steady hand because I'm still have a sharp focus, so that's very lucky. However, we're going to go over this image, and it is quite a dark image. The ISO is 1250. So we might need to add some noise reduction. However, most of this is done in Photoshop and only a little bit done in Lightroom. So first things first, I want to darken this, and I'm going to darken it a fair bit. And I'm mostly darkening it for the skin tones, and then I'm going to raise the temperature up just a touch. I want that a little bit warmer. And now I'm going to actually bring in the highlights this time, which is unusual for me, and I'm going to bring those up to plus 38. The shadows I now want up as well, so that I can bring in some detail back in those shadows. Okay, shadows are plus 39. And the blacks, I'm going to bring those blacks all the way up so I can keep detail in her hair and hopefully back here as well. Last but not least, all I'm going to do now is add in some noise reduction, and then we'll take it into Photoshop. So I'm just going to raise that to plus 25. Alright, see you in Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and all I'm going to do is go to the Layers palette, and I'm going to go down to the adjustment layers and do a gradient map. And the colours I'm selecting are deep brown, and over this side, instead of pink, I'm just going to go a little warmer. Okay, and press OK, and then I'm going to go through the blending modes and see which one fits. Now I actually don't mind that one. That was soft light. Multiply, I could reduce the opacity of that down, and I think that makes it too dark. And let's have a look at screen, which should lighten it. Okay. Now I think I'm going to go with screen with this one. And the reason I picked screen is because now we have some detail over here in the shadows. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a hue saturation mask, and I'm going to saturate that up, and I'd like to bring in some detail back in this wood. I love all the green and in the wood there. However, I don't like what it's done to her face, so I'm just going to grab adjustment brush and I'll brush that off. And on the piano there too, and on her dress and hair. Okay, so in light of the fact that I've just brushed off a lot there, I'm going to reduce the opacity of that. Okay, so now I'm going to do a solid colour, and this time go for a deep brown. Press OK and do a soft light. Now, in light of the fact that I'm trying to keep the wood in, I am also trying to darken the image and make it a little redder. I need to brush it off in the shadows here. So I'm just going to grab a big brush and brush it off in the shadows so I can have detail still in the shadows. Now let's look at the histogram. Now it says here that the shadows are nearly on the edge there, but we still have detail, printable detail. Okay, so let's go back to where we were at, and again I'm going to add a fill colour, a solid colour, and make it warm, and this time I'm going to reduce the opacity down before I make it soft light. And I think I actually want it to be more red. There we are. I'm actually trying to get the red of the wood. So now I grab a brush, reduce the opacity of the brush, and I'm masking it off on her a little. Now when you make a mistake, you can just use the fade, and I'm probably going to fade this back So I'm fading back the brushwork to keep in the detail. Okay, so I'm starting to be happy with that. Control J on the background layer, Control Alt E to duplicate all the layers, Control J, and I'm going to add a blur. And I'll just make that a 7.0. Okay, now I need to mask that off on her. Now I've kept my opacity at 70%. And I'll reduce the mask down. Let's have a look at 100% there. Okay. Now I will grab the brush again at 100% and just dabble over her eyes there and her fingers. And a hue saturation, we're nearly there. And I'm just going to saturate this up quite a lot. Change the hue to more red, there we go. And again, mask it off. Now I am going to have to saturate her up because now she looks desaturated. But I'm trying to make sure that the red of that piano comes out, the wood of the piano. Reduce the opacity to 64. Okay. Actually, I don't mind that, so I'm going to grab the background layer and Control Alt E and merge all those layers. And just do an auto color to see what Photoshop thinks it should be. There we go. It thinks her skin tone should be a little bluer. So what I'm going to do is just keep the skin tones as is for the moment. I've made a mask and I'm going to mask off at 100% opacity around her on her hair, on her shirt. Okay, and then reduce the opacity of that down. I'll just duplicate the layer firstly. Control Alt E. I'll go all the way to the background layer. All it's done is made a layer for us to work on. And now the reason I did that is simply so that I can do some patchwork. I'm going to patch out the indent of this wood here. I don't want the blue part. And I'm going to zoom in and remove this part. I'm going to take it down to the bottom here so that it keeps up with the wood line, and ditto with this side. Okay. Alright. And I'll just desaturate those keys there. Let's have a look at the other side. Alright, view fit on screen. Okay, so let's go on and have a look at it before. So this is before. And this is after. And I hope you enjoyed that video.